Its scale defies understanding. More than 95% of planet Earth's waters exist in near-perfect darkness, below the glimmering skin of the waves, in a place where no light can reach. Deep below the warm tropical waters of the Pacific Ocean, there is a dark and almost frozen world, a place so dangerous to explore that we know precious little about it. Finding anything alive there was once believed to be impossible. Conditions are so extreme that even the cells that make up all living things would be destroyed. Close your eyes. Picture in your mind every city you have ever walked, every great forest you have ever visited. All of these places together would not fill a corner of this abyss. If we turned Mount Everest upside down, its summit would still fall short of the ocean's deepest trench by 2 kilometers. We've sent people to the moon. We've sent vehicles to explore Mars, Saturn, even Neptune. Yet the vast expanse of our deep ocean floors is the last unexplored frontier on our planet, waiting to be discovered. The ocean begins here, in the truth that most of this planet is not made for us at all. Above us, the sunlit skin of tides. Below us, the night kingdom, indifferent to those tides. At the surface, the epipelagic zone, also known as the euphotic zone, spans the upper limit of the water column down to 200 meters. It's a vibrant world where more than 90% of all marine life dwells. The bustling cities of coral in the tropics where food, shelter, and reproductive partners are not in short supply. Living near the surface opens up unique niches. The Portuguese man-o'-war drifts at the surface using wind to move, while downward-facing tentacles feed. They are members of the Nustan, a community of floating animals at the interface of air and water. Here, microscopic plant-like animals, phytoplankton, take on the role of producers, converting water and carbon dioxide into oxygen and glucose via photosynthesis. The phytoplankton produce half the oxygen that we breathe. The biomass produced by this process supports all non-chemosynthetic life in the oceans. And without it, the depths below would starve. We begin with weight, a weight that presses from every side, and sound. The ocean, that ancient cathedral, whose nave is darkness, whose stone is water, whose organ is the clicks, cracks, and threaded songs of uncounted species, casting their vibrations through the dark. Sperm whales click and boom with the loudest biological sounds on Earth. Coral reefs crackle with the tiny snaps of shrimp and fish. To be precise, sound moves over 4 times faster in water than in air, because water's tightly packed molecules transmit vibrations more efficiently than air's spread out molecules. Here, the water is but the hide of a great drum, whose skin is struck ceaselessly by the lives within it. dip below 200 meters and we enter a world of gloom. This is the Twilight Zone, or the Mesopelagic. From now on, we are in the deep sea. Already, at just below 200 meters, survival is more of a challenge. There is not enough light for photosynthesis to occur. The forests of plankton vanish. There are no plants, no green energy. The only food source is a steady shower of organic particles called marine snow. Fecal pellets and dead material gently sinking from the bustling world above. It doesn't look like much, but that mud is miles deep in time. The dust of continents, the shells of plankton, the soft snow of all that has died above. The presence of this marine snow gives rise to a unique niche that animals can exploit. Many of these treasures are gelatinous zooplankton, moving at the whim of the ocean, swept by deep currents and unable to move against them. A host of delicate nomads drifting through the expanse. The gossamer worm, or Tomopteris, is a segmented worm belonging to Polychaetes, meaning many bristles. It undulates its bristles like the paddles of a canoe in order to swim. After it's fed, the gut within its transparent body reveals the color of its last meal. But this can blow their cover, since many animals it eats are bioluminescent. The bloody belly comb jelly undulates its hair-like cilia to attract prey, reflecting light to cast a rainbow shimmer. It takes on a deep red color to blend in since the wavelengths of red light do not reach the deep sea. So, astonishingly, adopting a red coloration conceals the stomach and filters out any light being emitted by the prey within while they're digested. There are relatives of snails here too, like Cardiopoda placenta, a rare pelagic gastropod, and Carinaria japonica, with its large swimming fin that swims upside down in search of prey. Siphonophores are not one organism, but many. They are drifting colonies of tiny animals called zooids that work together and partition biological functions between different structures. Nectophores act as swimming bells. Pneumatophores help with buoyancy. Gastrozoids dangle tentacles lined with stinging cells. The colonial way of life gives them a unique advantage. If individual zooids become damaged, it's less likely to affect the entire colony. They repeatedly clone themselves and can become effectively immortal. One siphonophore, belonging to genus Apolemia, is thought to be the longest animal ever observed. Rough calculations suggest it reached 50 meters in length, longer than a blue whale. Many tunicates are also colonial, like pyrosomes and floating necklace-like salps. The life cycle of many jellyfish begins with a polyp stage on the seabed. Planula larvae settle and develop into a cyphistoma, before asexually reproducing to produce a stack of developing juvenile medusae called a strobila. The dinner plate jelly swims with its tentacles extended forward, allowing them to stealthily sneak up on larger prey without startling them with large water movements. Remember, in all the footage we're seeing, the lights of an ROV are illuminating the animals, so it's hard to imagine how difficult it would be for prey to avoid slow-moving predators in the gloom. At 650 meters down, we find an octopus that is almost entirely see-through. This is a glass octopus, around 40 centimeters long. The eyes are cylindrical, reducing their silhouette when seen from below. The glass squid, with its bulging eyes, has also developed transparent body. When it suits them, they change color and fill their mantle with ink to turn deep red. Transparency is easier to achieve down here. In the depths, there are no harmful UV rays to necessitate cell pigmentation as protection from solar radiation. It's why we don't find many transparent animals on land, despite it seeming an effective method of camouflage. The telescope octopus, Amphitridis pelagicus, is gelatinous and almost colorless. It is the only octopus with tubular eyes, elongated cylinders that protrude like tiny periscopes to gather the faintest scatter of light. It is a creature of the water column, one of the only truly pelagic octopus species, recorded from about 150 to 2,000 meters. Past 1 kilometer, all sunlight disappears. We have reached the midnight zone, the bathypelagic. It stretches to 4 kilometers down. This is by far the largest habitat on Earth, covering more than half the planet's surface, yet we still understand very little about it. The temperature is a steady 4 degrees Celsius. The pressure from the weight of water above is already becoming dangerous. It's a harsh environment where the large physical distance from the plankton limits the abundance of animals. Life here must find a way to function in a cold, dark abyss where temperatures do not exceed 4 degrees Celsius and withstand extreme hydrostatic pressure that ranges from 100 atmospheres at the top of the zone to 400 at the bottom. A comb jelly casts a net of tentacles lined not with stinging cells, but sticky colloblasts that capture prey like a spider's web. Strips of fine hair-like cilia run the length of the body, beat synchronously, and refract light in shimmering waves. A lobate comb jelly lacks sticky tentacles, and instead uses its cilia to create a feeding current, engulfing prey. A female anglerfish wields a lure called an esca, filled with bioluminescent bacteria and poised at the tip of a modified dorsal fin ray called an elysium. Encounters between anglerfishes happen so rarely that many have gone to extreme lengths. Males develop a pincer-like pair of denticles in their jaw, latch permanently onto the female's body before fusing with their skin. Their circulatory systems combine, and the male reduces to nothing more than a shriveled sperm-producing sac, nourished and sustained by the female's blood. Body shapes make a world of difference. In the sunlit waters, predatory fish like tuna have fusiform bodies, streamlined with rigid forked tails, minimizing drag, and allowing them to migrate more than 15,000 kilometers yearly. Here in the midnight void, food is too scarce for streamlined predators. Rounded globiform fish like anglers float in weight. Others, like the sawtooth eel, are elongate and flexible, anguilliform. The snipe eel moves with a body type known as filiform. The jaws of its bird-like beak curve away from each other at their tips, covered with tiny hooked backwards pointing teeth for trapping minute crustaceans. The snipe eel boasts the most vertebrae of any animal on Earth, more than 700 running along its 1.5 meter long body. The gulper eel has a mouth larger than the rest of its body and can be opened wide enough to scoop up shoals of shrimp or swallow animals much larger than itself. A pouch-like lower jaw holds the prey, while its stomach distends to accommodate the feast. There is a clear trend in the color of fishes here. The shimmering silvery fishes are fewer. Instead, a host of dark brown or black fishes prevail. Many boast ultra-blackness with surfaces covered in melanosomes containing extraordinarily high concentrations of melanin that reflects less than 0.5% of light. It's in stark contrast to the reflective guanine crystals that allow silvering in fishes of the twilight zone. The shiny loose-jaw dragonfish produces red bioluminescence from light organs beneath each eye that serves as a searchlight. Prey that are bright red, which typically appear black down here, stick out in the red glow. The black-belly dragonfish forgoes ultra-blackness in favor of brassy bronze skin, using a bioluminescent barbel on its chin like an angler's lure. The toothy viperfish has fangs too large to fit inside its mouth, but they act like a cage. Its fangs are formed from crystal nanostructures so small that wavelengths of light pass through instead of scattering, rendering them invisible to prey. Chimera is one of the oldest fish in the ocean, an ancient relative of sharks that diverged 200 million years ago. Running along its entire length is a lateral line system, resembling patchwork, for sensing movements in nearby water. For every 10 meters we descend, pressure increases by 1 atmosphere. To survive, fish have evolved strengthened protein structures and more fluid cellular membranes. For others, including many cephalopods, a soft gelatinous body is all they need. The Dumbo octopus flaps a pair of enlarged ear-like mantle fins to move gracefully, steering with webbed arms as it traverses the void. Reaching depths of 6,000 meters, it is the deepest living octopus of all. Pressures at the lower end of its range can be 600 times greater than at sea level, equivalent to the weight of 50 jumbo jets. As night falls, the denizens of the deep pay a visit to the shallows. It's a phenomenon called the Deal vertical migration. Vast numbers of animals rise from the depths of the mesopelagic under a blanket of darkness. Deep-sea jellyfish, siphonophores, squid, and many others gather near the surface to feed. In their wake, the entire food web of the mesopelagic follows. Up from the depths come the innumerable sharks, fish, squid, and all manner of deep-sea predators. Together, they form the largest synchronous migration on planet Earth. Using this ability, an estimated 5 billion metric tons of organisms migrate up towards the surface every night and migrate back down come the dawn. Even stranger, this false bottom seemed to move at different hours of the day. Deep during the day, and creeping closer to the surface at night. Take the lanternfish. named after their ability to produce light via counter-illumination. They are the most widely distributed and abundant vertebrates on the planet, with an estimated global biomass of up to 16 gigatons and accounting for 65% of all fish biomass in the deep sea. Their most notable predators are the red devil squid, which gather in shoals of up to 1,200 individuals near the surface every night. Their entire bodies flash red and white to signal to other members of the shoal. When the supply of lanternfish runs out, they turn on each other. Cannibalism is rife among red devils, with stomach contents revealing remains of fellow squid in a quarter of specimens. The 24-hour cycle demonstrates the ability of life to make use of cycles and cues that allow them to exploit resources in different habitats. It fulfills an important role in the biological pump, bringing enormous amounts of carbon back down to depth. Let's begin, as these films rarely do, at the bottom for once. Here, at the far depths of the ocean, lies the Abyssal Plain, a vast, silent expanse of flat seabed that stretches across more than half of Earth's surface, unfolding in depths between 3,000 and 6,000 meters beneath the waves. It is among the flattest, most uniform landscapes on our planet. With long slopes so subtle, they vary only a meter or two over kilometers, and it remains one of the least explored realms on Earth. No sunlight at all penetrates. And the pressure rises to hundreds of times what we feel on land. Yet in this seeming emptiness, faint richness accumulates. Sediment falls slowly through thousands of meters of water. The entire seafloor gathered from a fine drift of dead bits and pieces, marine snow, the dust of continents, the shells of plankton, the soft snow of all that has died above. In remote basins, clay can settle at about 1 millimeter per 1,000 years. Leave it long enough, and it builds hundreds of meters thick. In the oldest basins, more than 1.5 kilometers of silt lies pressed into the seafloor, each layer a page in the ocean's book of time. So it's no wonder a host of animals have settled here and forsaken the ability to swim. We come to the detritivores, creatures that are the sustainers in a realm of scarcity. Sea cucumbers. Soft-bodied and slow-moving, they glide across the mud like living conveyors, swallowing sediment and sifting it for nourishment. What passes through their bodies emerges cleansed, the grains turned over and renewed. In some regions, they make up the vast majority of visible life on the Abyssal Plain, processing the seafloor as earthworms do in soil. It is this unseen engine that keeps the deep alive. Among them prowl the giant isopods, cousins of the woodlouse or pillbug, but here grown to nearly half a meter long. Like in a forest, where fungi and insects decompose the fallen, here too, this cleanup crew keeps the cycle of life turning. Nothing is wasted in the deep. Every flake of detritus and scrap of flesh is taken up by someone and recycled into the living weave of the abyss. In famine, many of the animals here can endure for years without a meal. In feast, they gorge until they can scarcely move. They are survivors shaped by scarcity, holding their vigil on the plain. The dark waters that hang and swirl above the abyssal plains must, to these seafloor denizens, appear as the sky appears to us. They have no concept of another interface above it, of a place full of air and clouds and birds. No, to the animals of the deep sea floor, there is only the silt below and the void above. And from that void come strange visitors with wings and tendrils. These animals that visit the seafloor do so because the plain offers what the open water cannot: a chance to feed, to rest, or to reproduce. Enormous six-gill sharks descend from the darkness, drawn by the scent of carrion. Heavy-bodied, slow, and ancient in design, it can grow longer than 4 meters, some even reaching 6, the length of a minibus. There are ghost sharks too, the chimeras, not true sharks, but ancient cousins. Their lineage diverged more than 400 million years ago, long before the dinosaurs. Their bodies taper into whip-like tails, and their wing-like fins carry them low over the seafloor, as though in slow flight. They feed not in sudden strikes, but by pressing their mouths to the mud. With jaws lined in hard, grinding tooth plates, they crush crabs, clams, and the armor of small invertebrates. Sensitive patches of skin on their snouts detect their faint electrical signals, and their eyes, among the largest of any fish at their size, are tuned to gather what little light remains. And then, something unspools from the dark. Fins broad as sails, arms falling in long, fine threads that trail over stone. This is the bigfin squid, Magnapinna. It is rarely seen. There are fewer than a couple of dozen confirmed encounters worldwide, but its outline is unmistakable. 8 arms and 2 tentacles held at right angles beneath the body, bent like elbows, the filaments dropping like lines into the current. Some individuals measure over 6 meters in total length. What those filaments do is still a mystery. Scientists suspect they are a calm, passive hunter. Perhaps the squid holds its arms out and simply lets life bump into them. Or perhaps it drifts low and lets the filaments graze the seafloor, gathering whatever they touch. From the same dark waters drifts a colony that looks like a tangle of pale threads. Bathyphysa conifera, the so-called flying spaghetti monster. Yes, that's its actual common name. Its tentacles carry batteries of nematocysts for stunning prey, fishing the dark with long, unbranched, stinging lines. It is not one animal, but many. Specialized zooids joined into a single organism, with a gas float above and a trailing line of feeding and reproductive bodies below. A true interstellar arc, or generation ship. The ocean does not begin at the shore. It does not end at the horizon. It is not a surface to be crossed. It begins in the clouds, in the rain, in the rivers. We think of the sea as flat and blue and empty, but this is its greatest illusion, for the ocean is not, at its heart, an expanse. It is an interior, a hollow of the world that drops away beneath us, down in the fathomless deep, in the veils of blue. In the cavernous trenches, there is life to be found. In every corner, there is life. Just as we know only the land, and the mud dwellers know only the silt, here in the void, the dark and the current, and its echo of the uncounted sounds are all these drifters will ever know. That is their world, as it is the largest part of ours. What secrets remain hidden in the darkest depths of our oceans? Secrets worth protecting, secrets worth discovering. The deep ocean is beautiful,